The method is what is similar to Libya. When you cannot achieve that people is in whatever way of misguiding or is opposing the regime which is not good for the empire, then we will impose their bandits, criminals. That's something they did in Kosovo, and that's something they did now in eastern Libya. So actually those groups represent nobody. They were just armed and pushed into armed struggle so that they can justify Western interference on their side, and their results in Libya so far, in Kosovo perhaps results are bigger because of longer preparation and the fact that so bad things as having a main channel for the whole European Union of Afghan drug production coming here should be hidden much better. But the technology is very similar. You turn simple criminals into political force, political leaders with your propaganda and backing, and then you impose regime that you like or that would give you benefit. So that's the concrete consequences, the only concrete consequences of bringing Western democracy to some country. So if you look all the recent wars, it's all the same. What's the only consequence of Iraqi war? Iraqi oil is taken by the West. What's the main consequence of the Afghan war? The production of heroin increased 40 times during NATO presence in that country. What's the main consequence of Kosovo war? You have the biggest US military base in Europe, some say in the world, and you have full control of the narco flow from Afghanistan to Western Europe and perhaps to United States. Albanian narco mafia is now more powerful than Italian mafia. And when the financial crisis appeared in 2008, the spring next year, head of UN anti-drug agency had stated that about, or at least, $200 billion of narco money had entered the Western banks, which needed money at that time. I already spoke about Al-Qaeda aspect. I won't repeat it. Then we come to the International Criminal Court, which is completely, in a very almost funny way, put into operation as a universal tribunal, because they probably concluded that it is too expensive to have another ad hoc tribunal for every war they waged for their victims. So they created this International Criminal Court, or turned it into a universal tribunal, where they can order someone to be sent who is disobedient and who would never judge themselves. in a similar way, like during aggression against Yugoslavia in '99, State Department demanded from the prosecutor of the Hague Tribunal to raise indictment against Milosevic. The same way now, even with certain, which makes the whole story funny, with certain approval of the Security Council, which this time has nothing to do with the International Criminal Court. It's in difference to the Hague Tribunal, which is the helping body of the Security Council, created by it illegally. International Criminal Court is not at all part of the UN system. It is just kind of independent institutions, but it took the orders from someone and raised charges against Gaddafi, his son Saif, and the head of his Libyan Secret Service, his brother-in-law. And finally, the media manipulation or crime against truth, which is enormous. Alleged violations of Gaddafi regime against some demonstrators and civilians in general were never approved by any serious investigation. They were just taken from media as such and used as a ground for Security Council resolution protecting civilians. And the numerous crimes I would mention a bit later describing the war that happened by bombing, by action of the rats and so on. Nobody is intending to treat at all. When they finally needed to approve these 6 months of unsuccessful aggression, and they launched the ground operation in order to take control over Tripoli, they were afraid that they would not produce images effective enough, so they staged a whole central square of Tripoli and Gaddafi's residence, like in Hollywood, somewhere in Qatar. So most of the images of taking Tripoli and cheerful people you have seen on TV were actually not from Tripoli, but from this stage in Qatar. And in spite, it was reported in some of the media and some of the internet resources, nobody reacts to that. So the main point of this part of my speech concerning criminal character of the war would be that everything is so criminal and so terrible that it is hard to believe. That there is nothing that can be even somehow understood or accepted. Everything is terrible and criminal. That's the main point.
Das heißt,
okay, now quickly a few words about connection between Libya and Serbia. It has, let's say, our good history has 2 periods. One was relations between Gaddafi and Tito. So the full-scale relations started soon after the revolution in Libya.